Zhuo Fan had escaped with the last heirs of the Luo clan, but hiding was never his real plan. Deep inside a forest that no ordinary traveler could cross, the reborn magic emperor was about to turn his pursuers' greatest advantage into the reason none of them would leave alive. The chase began the moment Zhuo Fan carried Luo Yunshang and Luo Yunhai away from the battlefield. Behind them, Commander Pang and the remaining Luo guards risked their lives to delay Sun Guanjia's bandits. Their sacrifice created only a narrow gap. If Zhuo Fan slowed down, argued, or chose the wrong path, the pursuers would close that distance within minutes. Luo Yunshang did not care about the danger behind them. She struggled against Zhuo Fan's grip and demanded to return. Commander Pang and the guards had protected her family for years. Leaving them surrounded by enemies felt like an act of betrayal. Every cry from the distant battlefield strengthened her determination to turn back. Luo Yunhai reacted with even greater anger. The young master could not accept being dragged through the forest by someone he considered a servant. He ordered Zhuo Fan to release him, then insulted him when the command was ignored. To the boy, rank and family honor still mattered. He had not yet understood that titles were useless when death was only a few steps behind. Zhuo Fan continued running without answering. He had already measured the strength of their enemies. Sun Guanjia and the strongest bandits possessed cultivation far above the surviving guards. Returning would not save Commander Pang. It would only place the two people he had chosen to protect directly into the enemy's hands. More importantly, the heart demon inside Zhuo Fan's new body would not allow such a mistake. The final desire of the body's former owner had become a spiritual curse. Luo Yunshang and Luo Yunhai had to survive. If Zhuo Fan abandoned them or allowed them to die through his own decision, the curse could destroy his second life. The Magic Emperor had once commanded countless followers. Now a dead servant's promise forced him to protect two children who refused to follow his instructions. Luo Yunshang tried again. Loyal men were dying behind them, while the heirs of the Luo clan continued to run. To her, such an escape felt unacceptable. Her words carried courage, but Zhuo Fan heard only dangerous emotion. Honor could guide a strong person. In the hands of someone powerless, it often became a faster path to death. He finally stopped long enough to set the siblings down. For one brief moment, Luo Yunshang believed he had agreed to return. Instead, Zhuo Fan looked directly at her and asked a simple question. Even if she reached the battlefield, could she defeat Sun Guanjia and the bandits? The answer was obvious. Luo Yunshang possessed neither the strength nor the experience required to change the battle. Luo Yunhai was even less capable. Their return would force Commander Pang to protect them again, dividing his attention and shortening the time he could resist. The guards had stayed behind so the heirs could escape. Throwing away that opportunity would make their sacrifice meaningless. Luo Yunhai refused to accept the explanation. He continued shouting, demanding that his sister ignore the servant. Zhuo Fan's patience ended. A sharp strike silenced the young master and left him staring in disbelief. No servant had ever treated him that way. Zhuo Fan showed no concern for the boy's wounded pride. Survival came before manners. Luo Yunhai could complain after the danger ended, assuming he lived long enough to do so. The response shocked Luo Yunshang almost as much as it shocked her brother. The old Zhuo Fan had been timid and obedient. He could barely look directly at his masters, let alone strike one of them. The person standing before her wore the same face, but every movement revealed confidence, calculation, and authority. There was no time to question the change. The pursuers were still moving through the forest, and an ordinary path would not hide the group for long. Zhuo Fan asked whether any dangerous terrain existed nearby. He needed a place unfamiliar to the bandits, somewhere numbers and cultivation would become less useful. Luo Yunshang searched her memory. The surrounding land contained open farms and scattered paths, but none offered meaningful protection. The only exception was the misty forest, located on the western side of Black Wind Mountain. The forest had been covered in dense fog for many years. Travelers who entered without knowing the terrain often became lost. The paths twisted between old trees, visibility changed without warning, and even experienced hunters avoided its deepest areas. The bandits of Black Wind Mountain might know the surrounding region, but the misty forest remained dangerous to everyone. For Luo Yunshang, that description sounded like a warning. For Zhuo Fan, it sounded perfect. He ordered them to lead the way. Luo Yunshang hesitated, aware that entering the fog could trap them as easily as their enemies. Zhuo Fan accepted that risk. A battlefield no one controlled could still be shaped. Open ground favored the stronger side. Confusing terrain favored the person who understood how to manipulate it. The group reached the edge of the misty forest as daylight began fading through the trees. White mist drifted across the ground and swallowed the path only a short distance ahead. The air felt colder inside. Sound carried strangely, making distant movement appear close and nearby footsteps seem far away. Luo Yunshang explained that her father had once spoken about Black Wind Mountain. Its chief possessed strength comparable to the former head of the Luo clan. For many years, neither side had openly attacked the other. That balance made the recent assault difficult to understand. Something had changed, and Sun Guanjia's betrayal was probably only one part of a larger plan. Zhuo Fan stored that information for later. The reason behind the attack did not matter until the immediate pursuers were removed. He studied the flow of mist and the position of the oldest trees. He also examined the uneven ground and the spiritual energy moving beneath the soil. The forest was more than a hiding place. It was a natural formation waiting for someone to complete it. In his former life, Zhuo Fan had seen cultivators waste fortunes trying to force formations onto unsuitable ground. They relied on rare materials because they could not recognize the energy already present around them. Zhuo Fan followed a different principle. A skilled formation master did not fight the terrain. He found the power hidden within it, then gave that power a direction. The misty forest already contained confusion, darkness, and years of accumulated spiritual energy. With the correct arrangement, a few ordinary stones could unlock all of it. Before Zhuo Fan could begin, Luo Yunshang made another decision. She offered to remain behind and draw the bandits away. Zhuo Fan could take Luo Yunhai deeper into the forest while she used herself as bait. If the pursuers focused on the young mistress, her brother might escape. The plan was brave but useless. Zhuo Fan refused immediately. Luo Yunshang believed he was protecting her out of loyalty. In truth, he was protecting both siblings because the heart demon demanded it. Allowing either one to sacrifice themselves could trigger the curse. Her choice would still place his life in danger. When she continued arguing, Zhuo Fan used the one threat certain to stop her. If Luo Yunshang walked away, Luo Yunhai would die by his hand before the bandits arrived. Silence fell across the forest. Luo Yunshang stared at him, unable to decide whether the threat was real. Luo Yunhai forgot his anger and stepped closer to his sister. Zhuo Fan's expression offered no reassurance. He looked fully capable of carrying out the promise. The threat was cruel, but it achieved its purpose. Luo Yunshang could sacrifice herself. She could not sacrifice her younger brother. She remained with the group, furious but unable to leave. Zhuo Fan then explained the truth in the coldest terms possible. Their lives had been purchased by the blood of Commander Pang and the guards. Wasting those lives through reckless emotion would insult everyone who had stayed behind. Survival was not cowardice when others had died to create it. His words reached Luo Yunshang more deeply than comfort could have done. The guilt remained, but she finally stopped trying to return. Luo Yunhai also became quiet. For the first time, both siblings accepted that Zhuo Fan understood the situation better than they did. Then he revealed that hiding was only the beginning. Zhuo Fan intended to destroy Sun Guanjia and every bandit chasing them. Luo Yunshang believed the claim was madness. Their enemies included several strong cultivators, while Zhuo Fan had only recently displayed enough strength to kill one careless attacker. Commander Pang himself could not defeat the entire group. A single servant should have had no chance. Zhuo Fan did not need her belief. He needed spiritual stones. Spiritual stones stored concentrated energy and were essential for many cultivation methods. They were also valuable currency, especially to a declining family. Luo Yunshang carried only a small number, and losing them would remove one of the Luo clan's last resources. She asked what Zhuo Fan intended to do. He gave no detailed explanation. The bandits were approaching, and every moment spent debating reduced the time available. Luo Yunshang could surrender the stones and fight for survival, or protect them until Sun Guanjia arrived to take everything. The choice was painful but clear. Luo Yunshang handed over the spiritual stones. She warned Zhuo Fan that they represented the final hope of her family. If he wasted them, she would never forgive him. Zhuo Fan almost smiled. In his former life, formations worth kingdoms had been placed before him. The few stones in his hand were poor materials, but the misty forest offered what the Luo clan could not. Natural fog, concentrated shade, old trees, and hidden spiritual currents could replace much of the missing energy. He began to work. Zhuo Fan moved through the forest, burying spiritual stones at precise locations. Each position connected with the next through channels of energy beneath the ground. He carved marks into roots, shifted loose stones, and adjusted the paths along which the mist traveled. To Luo Yunshang, the process appeared almost random. One stone disappeared beside a tree, another was placed beneath cracked earth. Zhuo Fan sometimes moved several steps, stopped and changed direction without explanation, yet the longer he worked, the more the forest seemed to respond. The fog began to move against the wind. Energy spread through the ground in silent lines. Trees that had stood separately became points within a much larger pattern. The natural spiritual current of the forest entered the stones, then returned through the mist with a colder and more threatening presence. Zhuo Fan was constructing the Nine Serenities Ghost Gate formation. It was only a first-level array in its current form. The available spiritual stones were too weak, and the preparation time was too short for anything greater. Even so, the knowledge behind it came from a world far beyond the understanding of ordinary cultivators in this region. A formation did not rely on the strength of one person alone. It borrowed power from materials, terrain, and carefully arranged energy. Once activated, a weak cultivator could use it to threaten opponents who would normally crush them in direct battle. That was exactly what Zhuo Fan required. The work continued until the sky darkened. Luo Yunshang and Luo Yunhai waited nearby, listening for signs of pursuit. The young master grew impatient, but his earlier punishment discouraged another argument. His sister remained focused on the forest, trying to understand how a supposedly ordinary servant possessed such knowledge. Eventually, a surge of power moved through the ground. The mist expanded, twisted, and then vanished from the place where the siblings were waiting. Luo Yunshang looked around in alarm. The fog that had covered the forest for years had suddenly withdrawn, exposing paths and trees that had remained hidden only moments earlier. For a moment, she feared the formation had failed. Then Zhuo Fan emerged from between the trees. He appeared calm, as though changing the behavior of an entire forest required no special effort. Luo Yunshang demanded an explanation. Zhuo Fan told her that the disappearance of the mist was part of the design. The fog had not truly vanished. It had been gathered, redirected, and placed under the control of the formation. Luo Yunshang struggled to believe him. Array formations were more valuable than ordinary martial techniques. Even a first-level array could cost hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones, and the methods of creating one were guarded by powerful families and sects. Zhuo Fan had built one with a handful of poor materials in less than a day. That achievement made his identity even more mysterious. The old servant could not have learned such knowledge inside the Luo household. No hidden master had ever visited him, and no expensive formation manual had been available. Luo Yunshang finally understood that the change in Zhuo Fan involved more than sudden courage. She asked where he had learned the technique. Zhuo Fan ignored the question. The enemy was approaching, and curiosity could wait. He led Luo Yunshang towards the center of the array and began teaching her how to control it. She would become the visible master of the formation, while he handled the parts requiring deeper knowledge. The instructions were simple only because Zhuo Fan had already completed the difficult work. Luo Yunshang needed to recognize several changes in the mist, then channel energy into selected points. When the bandits entered the correct area, she would activate the killing paths. At first, she feared making a mistake. A single incorrect movement could expose their position or trap Commander Pang inside the array. Zhuo Fan forced her to repeat every instruction until hesitation disappeared. There would be no time for uncertainty once the enemy arrived. The lesson also carried a burden Zhuo Fan did not soften. Luo Yunshang would not merely move mist around the forest. Activating the killing paths meant choosing when trapped enemies would be attacked. She had spent her life protected by guards, and now their survival might require her to become the executioner. Zhuo Fan gave her no comforting lie. Sun Guanjia's men had already killed members of the Luo clan, and they intended to kill more. If her hand trembled at the decisive moment, Commander Pang and Luo Yunhai would pay the price. Luo Yunhai watched the lesson in silence. The servant he had mocked now commanded the forest and instructed his sister like an experienced master. Pride prevented the boy from admitting admiration, but his expression had already changed. Far behind them, Sun Guanjia continued the pursuit. Commander Pang had been defeated and captured, but he remained alive. Sun Guanjia understood Luo Yunshang's character. The young mistress valued loyalty and would struggle to abandon a guardian who had protected her family. Commander Pang could therefore become a hostage, a guide, and bait at the same time. Sun Guanjia forced the wounded commander towards the misty forest. Pang cursed him with every step. He promised revenge for the dead guards and demanded a swift death rather than being used against the Luo siblings. Commander Pang had no way to know what Zhuo Fan had prepared. From his perspective, the young servant had only escaped with the hares and gained a short lead. He therefore tried to slow the group whenever possible, dragging his feet and forcing the bandits to pull him forward. Every wasted moment gave Luo Yunshang more time to reach safety. Sun Guanjia recognized the resistance, but kept Pang alive because his value as bait continued to outweigh the inconvenience. The traitor only laughed. Killing Commander Pang immediately would waste a useful tool. Once Luo Yunshang saw him in chains, her compassion might draw her from hiding. If that failed, the commander could still be tortured for information. The bandits reached the edge of the misty forest and slowed down. Even men familiar with Black Wind Mountain disliked entering that place. The fog confused direction, and the terrain could separate a group within moments. Sun Guanjia refused to turn back. Zhuo Fan and the Luo siblings had nowhere else to go. With Commander Pang as leverage, the advantage still appeared to belong to the pursuers. Then one of the bandits spotted a figure beneath a distant tree. Zhuo Fan was sitting alone. There was no visible fear in his posture. He had not hidden, prepared to run, or attempted to negotiate. He simply waited in the open, as though the approaching fighters were guests arriving at an appointed time. The sight made Sun Guanjia suspicious. A weak servant should not have remained alone after escaping stronger enemies, yet anger quickly overcame caution. Zhuo Fan had ruined his plan, killed one of his men, and taken the Luo hares away. Seeing him within reach awakened every desire for revenge. A large bandit moved ahead of the group, eager to claim the kill. Zhuo Fan rose only when the man entered striking distance. The exchange ended so quickly that the others barely saw it. The large fighter fell. Shock moved through the group. Zhuo Fan stood beside the body, calm and untouched. The message was clear. He had not been waiting because escape was impossible. He had been waiting because the battlefield was ready. Sun Guanjia still failed to recognize the true danger. He assumed Zhuo Fan had relied on another trick, and tricks became useless when several strong cultivators attacked together. He ordered the next fighter forward and commanded the others to surround the servant. Weapons left their sheaths. Bandits spread between the trees, unknowingly stepping across the hidden lines of the Nine Serenities' Ghost Gate formation. The mist remained still. The forest remained silent. Nothing warned them that every step carried them deeper into a structure designed by the Magic Emperor. Zhuo Fan watched them approach, and a faint smile appeared on his face. The pursuers believed they had finally trapped a powerless servant. Little did they know, the moment they entered the misty forest, the gates of the underworld had already begun to close.